This is a Voyescape podcast. You can find all of our travel podcasts from around the world at voyescape.com.
An island paradise whose cultural treasures are as beautiful as its beaches. This week, we're going to talk about Bali. David, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing great, Tim, and I'm really excited to talk about Bali. It's a place, as you said, it's got incredible beaches. It's got these beautiful green rice terraces throughout the country. It's got a deeply spiritual culture. There is a lot of reasons to go to Bali and a great destination for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know we were chatting a little bit before the show about that. It's a bit of a dichotomous destination. You've got it is a paradise in many ways, but at the same time, it is a very, very busy place. And I thought we would maybe address that right off the top. One of the things that was the biggest surprise for me when I went to Bali the first time, I've been, I think, 3 times now to Bali, was just how busy it was. I pictured it, maybe as a South Pacific, quiet, beautiful, island. And when you go there, it's busy. I think the last time I checked, there were a couple million people that live there. Maybe it's even more now. The streets are busy, the cities are busy, the beaches are busy. But it still manages, to be a beautiful place with lots of options. I don't know, what was your experience versus your first visit versus more recent visits?
For sure, it has changed dramatically. I mean, my wife and I were there for the first time in the early 2000s, and there, you would go into places like Ubud, and they were these quiet, remote villages with very few people around, other than a few beautiful luxury resorts. It would be super quiet at night. Now, I mean, there's literally traffic jams on the streets when you go there. It is a much different experience. I think, as we were talking about, it's probably the most Instagrammable and most Instagrammed place on earth, and that has definitely had an impact. Over tourism, you can definitely see is having an impact on the islands. It's also a place where a lot of digital nomads from around the world have been attracted to, because the cost of living versus the quality of life there is phenomenal. And I will say, for sure it's busy. For sure it's different than it used to be, but don't let that put you off going to Bali. I would say just look at how you can make sure your trip is a bit more sustainable. Are there opportunities to stay at that Airbnb that's a little bit more remote, to stay with locals, to stay in off the beaten tourist track in some different destinations? And one of the places I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about on today's show, it's not necessarily an undiscovered place by any means, but it is, I found, less of the busyness of some of the rest of the island. Was I really enjoyed the time we spent in the Uluwatu area, and probably at least half the recommendations that I would have that we're going to talk about on today's show all relate to things that we did in that area. What were some of your favorite parts of Bali?
And again, it's not an undiscovered destination, but I did love Ubud, right in the middle of the island. I know in years past, and again, we talked about this a little bit before the episode, that it was much sleepier and much quieter and more undiscovered in the past. But it is definitely a favorite place for me. I mean, I love the water, I love the beach, but in Ubud, I love to go there and just walk through all the artisan workshops, go through all the shops. I love being able to make contact personally with people who are making, carvers who are creating statues, or weavers who are creating textiles. And it's still a place. I mean, now it is very popular and it is very busy. But you can still go in and you can still have that face-to-face contact and speak with the person who is, making your one-of-a-kind souvenir. And I think that is something that is extremely special. There's an art market there that is very cool. There's a main street that you can just walk along. I mean, Bali is not the most walkable place in the world, but the Ubud is a place where you can walk from one place to the next, and you can get coffee here, and you can go to an art workshop there, and you can go to a market there. And so that is definitely one of my favorites. What about you?
Yeah, for sure. The local markets are a huge attraction. Definitely in terms of things to do, why to go there. The other big thing for us was surfing. It's a great surfing destination. It's probably where my kids, when they were both quite young, this was their first go at surfing, and I think we were able to book through Airbnb experiences with a surfing school in Kuta Beach, where maybe it was $12 to $15 a person to rent a board and have instruction for a half day, and they had an awesome time, and has put them on the path of surfing around the world since. There's some great hot springs, great beach clubs, and we should talk a bit about the beach club experience in Bali, because that's something a bit unique to the islands. But I'd love to dig into where to stay, and if if you're getting to Bali, where you would recommend and some of your favorite hotels, Tim. And I'm going to start off with a place in Uluwatu, the Renaissance Bali Uluwatu, which, when I was first looking at staying here, it's a little bit off the beach, so we weren't sure it was where we wanted to go, but it had good reviews and just happened to line up well with our trip. So we decided to give it a go, and it ended up being one of my favorite hotels I've stayed at anywhere in the world. It's got a breathtaking infinity pool that overlooks the island. It's near Uluwatu Temple. You're maybe a 10-minute drive away. And as I say, that area is definitely a little bit quieter, a little bit more like the traditional Bali experience. But what we really loved about this hotel, first of all, cool, modern design, it's beautiful infinity pools, but then the activities. They had amazing cooking classes happening at their main restaurant, Double ECAT, where the head chef would come out during the day and teach you about local spices, ingredients that define Balinese cuisine. A really, really good in-depth cooking class that we were able to do there while we were at the hotel. They also have another restaurant in the hotel where you'll notice all the dinnerware is all handmade pottery, and they have pottery classes where you can go in, and the people who have made all the dinnerware that's used at the resort teach you how they did it, and you can do it yourself and then have something to bring home as well. They had an awesome kids club. And even though they were up on the cliffs overlooking the ocean, not on a beach, they did have a beach club, maybe a 5-minute drive away, and a shuttle bus that ran back and forth. A place called Roosters Beach Club, beautiful beach. So you could still get that beach experience, but also be off the beach and have the experience there. And there was so much to do in that area in terms of other great restaurants, great beach clubs. Highly would recommend that. How about you? Where's your go-to place to stay when you're in Bali?
Well, I will start by saying I love a beach club. I mean, I do. I love, oftentimes if you're staying a little bit off the beach, they'll shuttle you down to their beach club, and you can just sit and relax and get a bucket of beers and just relax. Just enjoy the beach. My place is a little bit different. I had a wonderful stay at Mandapa, which is a Ritz-Carlton reserve. That is, again, going back to Ubud. It's right in the middle of the island. And I think the thing that I loved most about it was, we're talking about big, beautiful private villas, mostly with their own private pools, right in the jungle. And so you feel like you're a million miles from everywhere. Even though, as we've talked about, Bali is a big population, very busy. This is a place where you can feel like you can escape. And I remember the first day, after I checked in, I was sitting out by the private pool, and I would hear this kind of roar and this kind of screaming, and I was like, "What is going on?" And it was because there's a river, I'm going to say it wrong, but the Ayung River that goes right past the resort, and you can go river rafting on this river. And so on this trip, I went river rafting, and these are not your Costa Rica class 5 rapids. These are, class 1, class 2 rapids through a canyon, through the jungle, waterfalls. They even had little impromptu ersatz, little bars that they would pull the raft up, and you could get a bintang beer for 50 cents or whatever, take it in the raft. I don't know if that's like officially recommended, but that was the thing. So this beautiful, beautiful resort in the middle of the jungle, and then you can go and raft down the river and have a little bit of a thrill. So I love that. And I'm just going to put in a quick little plug for the Kempinski, the Apurva Kempinski Hotel, which is a beautiful cliff top, similar to what you've described, cliff top hotel. And I think it really has one of the world's great hotel pools. So they have this pool that runs 60 meters, lined with cushy loungers, palm trees, and then if you stand at one end and you look to the other, it drops off and it goes right into the ocean, and it's just the blue of the pool into the aquamarine of the ocean. Beautiful rooms and everything else as well, tropical gardens, that kind of thing. But that pool, I could just go back to that pool and sit there forever. So
Well, I think we're both onto something, which is, I think, if you're going, there are two very different types of experiences to have, and all three of the hotels that we've recommended are definitely more remote, right? Like the Renaissance in Uluwatu, you're a good 25-30 minute Uber ride from a main town or village. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Ritz-Carlton that you're talking about, it's much the same, right? It's a very remote sort of jungle location. Is it Kapinski as well? I think. Yeah. And that, you are going to have one type of Bali experience at those types of resorts versus if you go to in Kuta Beach, there's the Hard Rock Hotel, there's the, others that are beachfront, the W Hotel in Seminyak, great party locations, beachfront locations, but it's a totally different Bali, right? Those are like surfer party spots versus you've got the relaxation, wellness focused, more remote remote locations. So you just really got to decide what type of holiday you're looking to have, or maybe it's a mix of the two and balance out your time between them. But you are going to have a much different experience depending on the type of resort that you ultimately
totally
choose
agree.
in Bali.
And I think you've hit the nail on the head in that Bali, like so many destinations, there are many different Balis, and you sort of create your own experience of Bali. So like you've said, you can go join all the 20 something, Australians at the, at the nightclubs on the beach, and rock until 3-4 in the morning, or you can go find, your own personal retreat, health focused, spa focused, remote and peaceful experience. And all those things are available there.
So Tim, I know we always try and find a can't miss or a must do when we're on the islands or something a bit more undiscovered. What's your can't miss when you're in Bali?
This might be a little bit of a surprise, but my can't miss in Bali is actually not in Bali. A few years ago, I went on a really interesting trip to a place called the Gili Islands. So you would fly to Bali, and then you get on a fast ferry. They have these 254 horsepower motors that propel these fast ferries, or maybe it's more than that. I'm not really mechanical, but they propel you across in less than 2 hours, and you get to these castaway islands called the Gili Islands. I spent most of my time on Gili Trawangan, which people could just call Gili T. And at the time, no motorized vehicles, horse-drawn carriages. So landing at the beach on the fast ferry, you get picked up by a horse and buggy that takes you to your hotel. And really that feeling of being away, being on that island paradise, that castaway destination. You could go for the day, be a long day, but I would definitely recommend it, even go for a night, 2 nights, 3 nights. If you're in Bali, go to the Gili Islands, give them a try as well.
Excellent. Well, I know there's a lot to talk about Bali. We've gone into a little bit about the why to go there, a little bit about where to stay. I think we should come back in a bonus episode later this week and maybe to talk a little bit more about what to do once you get there. I mean, some of the activities and also a drill down into, I know we both had some great experience in terms of beach clubs and restaurants. So we can dive into that in a bit more detail in a bonus episode later this week. But thanks again for joining me, Tim. I know you're out at sea this week, so appreciate you taking the time as you're cruising around the world. And we'll talk to you again in a couple of days.
Sounds good, David. Looking forward to it.